Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and talk about DC Comics again because the writer of Superman, Son of Kal-El is pretty salty that people are pointing out the fact that his comic book is a sales disaster. Now, he can get as salty as he wants, but it doesn't change the fact that this book did not sell very well. He always likes to go and point to that issue number 5 that did pretty well, thanks to the fact that multiple mainstream sites talked about it. I mean, every site possible was talking about it. You could turn on the news and they were talking about it. It was getting press everywhere. So because of that, naturally, it sold pretty good. In fact, it sold in, that's right, number 6 out of 50, which means it probably sold around 100,000 copies. Now, we don't get numbers anymore. This has changed because the way that comic books are distributed has changed over the past 2 years. And because of that, we don't get accurate numbers anymore. A lot of these websites, ICV2, Comicron, they have to kind of throw things together and use some interesting statistical techniques to make this work. One of them is the fact that they are using a sample of 100 stores out of 3,000 to make this a thing. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, most studies do this at a sample size that represents the population. It's a statistical thing. It's used in actual science studies like this, and ICV2 is doing the same thing. Now, it's really funny to see him do this because that means a lot of the science that he's a part of that little group that always likes to talk about the science. Well, then what are you saying about that? Because they're doing the same thing. 100 plus stores is actually a pretty good sample size when you're comparing it to the population of 3,000 something stores. It's actually pretty good. But that doesn't matter to Tom Taylor because his comic sold like shit. Now, he went on a big triad in January talking about how his comic actually did pretty good. All these people making fun of my comic, they're liars because, well, my comic didn't come out in January. Even though it did come out in January, the annual came out in January, and it did not make the top 50. It was probably around 55. So it was a colossal failure. Now, a lot of people probably skipped the annual because the comic did hit the chart for for January 2022. And where did it land? Oh, it landed at 42. So it went from number 6 to number 42. That's a drastic decrease in sales. Now the book is probably sitting around 20 to 35,000 issues shipped. Not sold, shipped. It's the same for the other one. That's a huge failure, Tom King. Oh, I'm sorry. That's another terrible writer. Tom Taylor. The Toms, the terrible Toms. Horrible writers. Tom King is who's pretty much destroyed Batman, if you don't know who that is. So Tom Taylor, running around, was doing a lot of deflecting, calling people out. Here he is calling out the Quartering, calling out RK Outpost, and saying, oh, they're all liars. They're all liars. My book's doing pretty damn good. In fact, he even quotes the same charts that we're using in those posts. Because he quotes number 5 in this one right here. He says, now this is pretty confusing. I don't believe a story's worth is measured by its sales, but our Superman is selling pretty well. Issue number 5. Well, what chart is he referring to? Oh, he's referring to this one. Oh, okay. I guess on the other one it was number 5. On this one it's number 6. He's probably referring to a Comicron model. It's done, I would guess, in the same way that this one is done. They probably use I think Comicron, I'm not trying to get into the math of this, but they're probably both using some type of different statistical models. I don't know. Not sure. Really not interested in breaking them down. I think that their charts are pretty accurate because the comics that are up here, I definitely could say are like big sellers. Venom, Hulk, whatever. So Tom Taylor had no problem using these charts when he was gloating about the fact that speculators came in and bought the shit out of his book in November. But now that the sales show that his book is selling like shit, now those aren't good enough. Now those are different. People are just oddly obsessed with the sales of his book. Oh, it's only 100+ stores in the sample size. Those liars. My book's selling real good. It's an agenda. No, it's not an agenda, Tom Taylor. The fact is, nobody's interested in your book. The book is DOA, and it's going to continue to slip in sales. And it's going to be funny to watch you spurg out and get angry over the fact that your book is a failure. It's a failure. It relied on a gimmick to get in the news, and the only reason that it made the November chart is based on a gimmick, because you guys pulled the rabbit out of the hat again, which you do all the time with the characters over at DC Comics. Oh, let's do something with their identity, and boom, the comic sells because every mainstream article is out there to praise it. And then as soon as all of the hubbub goes away, the sales go right back into the toilet. DC Comics is hurting because of this, because every single comic for DC Comics on these charts now is Batman and only Batman. And it's selling okay for now. But I'm telling you, there's no way people are going to be okay with reading 15 to 17 Batman books a month. And they're not all good. Most of them are pretty average to boring. So eventually, if these products, they better be damn good every month, because people are going to get tired of reading mundane Batman books, and it'll affect everything, except probably the main Batman and Detective Comics. I think those will always sell well. But eventually, all of these Batman books, if they're not top quality every month, you will see Batman fatigue set in. And then I don't know what DC Comics does, because the only character that people seem to be interested with that company is with Batman. And that's pretty sad. None of their other characters are interesting to anybody, and they only have themselves to blame with their short-sightedness. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. And as always, I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, make sure to follow me over on Twitch. I do watch parties, play video games over there. They're always fun. Follow me over there and come hang out. Also, make sure you subscribe to YellowFlash, my other channel. There's a link to that in the description as well. I do a lot of live streams over there that I don't do on this channel. Usually smaller and a little bit more personal. So make sure you follow me over there and sign up.